Okay, guys, and welcome back. Being helpful, or whose job is it anyway? Now, in my experience, most people want to be helpful whenever they can. It's an admirable quality, but sometimes what started as a favour became part of the day job. Now, about a week into a new role, one of my seniors approached me at the end of the day and said he'd had a terrible day and he had loads to catch up on the following day. So I suggested we took 10 minutes in the morning to see if there was anything I could do to help. And when we sat down, he explained that he'd lost the whole morning to sorting out a purchase order query for accounts payable. It should have only taken about 10 minutes, but there were a bunch of complications with it, lots of back and forth between goods receiving department and the supplier, chasing PODs, proof of delivery notes, and. It was lunchtime by the time he was done. Now, I've worked my way up through the ranks, and at some point I've done most of the jobs in my field, so I can sympathise. I know how time consuming this particular task can be. But what interested me most was one particular thing that he said. Now reread that and see if you can spot what it was. It's way up front. Sorting out a purchase order query for accounts payable. For accounts payable. Now, I asked what he meant specifically by for accounts payable, and he explained that when there was an invoice query, if it's a price query, it comes to our team. If it's a quantity query, it should go to the goods receiving team. And as this was a quantity query, I asked how he'd become involved, and he explained that it was easier if accounts just routed everything to our team and we could just sort it out for them, as we knew the contacts internally and externally, and the goods receiving team, well, they weren't really interested. So who is this easier for? Okay, so I asked him to prepare a list of all the internal contacts. There were multiple sites, so that involved different people, and a supplier list with the contact details of all the people who could provide help with proof of delivery notes, PODs. I checked the job descriptions, which were held centrally for all managers to view, of my team, the goods receiving team, and the accounts payable team. And sure enough, my team were only responsible for price queries. Okay, so I called the head of accounts payable and the head of materials management and arranged a meeting for that afternoon. I took the job descriptions with me, though it turned out I didn't need them, and talked the matter through with them. Though it wasn't a happy conversation, we agreed that the accounts team would pick up the sortation, as all the invoices came to them first, and it was also in their job description, and direct the queries to the appropriate department. Now, we agreed that the goods receiving team would take responsibility for any quantity queries. It was in their job description after all. I furnished both with a paper copy of the list of supplier contacts and accounts with a list of the goods receiving department contacts, and asked my senior to email a copy of each internally. I confirmed the details of our meeting by email to both heads of department and asked that they communicated the agreed process to their respective teams. Now, as it turned out, several members of the team experienced time pressures brought on by being helpful, and if time is tight, help with the things that you should be helping with. Do your own job first, and then if you have spare time, help with the things you could help with. Don't do it to the point where the people whose job it really is abdicate their responsibility to you. It's critical to understand which activities naturally and correctly sit within your team, because they're the things they're paid to do. Okay, I'll see you in the next lecture.